ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रम् अतो बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्मा निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणमे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अनन्तगुणपूर्णत्वादगम्याय सुरैरपि सर्वेष्टदात्रे देवानां नमो नारायणाय ते. So good morning, good afternoon and good evening to friends who have joined for the first session of Keno Upanishad. Technically, and the correct way of saying this actually is Talavakara Upanishad. Keno Upanishad is a subsequent name for this Upanishad because, as we all know, it starts with the letter Kena, question. In fact, all Upanishads start with a question and answer. So in that sense, then all Upanishads are Keno Upanishads. Yeah, there is a question and there is an answer. But the correct way of understanding this Upanishad is Talavakara Upanishad. So we are going to be doing, with God's grace, we're going to do Talavakara Upanishad over the next several weeks, hopefully several months. So what's going on here? Narayanam vinishpannam jnanam krutayuge sthitam kinchit tad anyata jatam tretayam dvapare akilam Gautamasya rishehe shapad jnane tu ajnanatam gatehe Sankirna buddhayo devaha brahma rudra purassaraha Sharanyam sharanam jagmuhu narayanam anamayam Tairvignapita karyastu Bhagavan Purushottamaha Avatirno Mahayogi Satyavatyam Parasharat Utsannan Bhagavan Veda Ujjahara Harihi Swayam Chaturda Vyabhajat Tamshta Chaturvimshatida Punaha Shatada cha Ekada chaiva Tataiva cha Sahasrada Krishno Dwadashada chaiva Punastasyarta Vittaye Chakara Brahmasutrani Yesham Sutratvam Anjasa. So the Skanda Purana actually gives a good overview of what happened at the end of Dwapara.
Just to interrupt you, the slide is not moving, so we are still on the first slide.
Okay. Has it moved now?
No.
Oh. Yes.
It says it's pausing.
Yeah,
Paused.
screen sharing, it says.
Okay. Let me hold on a sec. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll start again. Okay. Can you see this now?
Yes, yeah, we can.
We can see your whole screen with the slides on the left.
Okay, so
It's not in full screen. Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving now? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So we did this first verse of Skanda Purana. We did this verse on Skanda Purana, which actually gives you the background to what happened at the end of Dwapara Yuga. What happened? So, Kinchit tad anyata jatam tretayam dwapare akilam. So, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, much of the Vedic knowledge was lost. Okay. Why was the Vedic knowledge lost at the end of the tail end of the Dwapara Yuga? So, there is one issue about the Gautamasya rishehe shapat jnanetu ajnanatam gatehe. So, that is an important thing that happened at the end of Dwapara Yuga by the Shapa of Gautama Rishi. Okay, I've just put a quick question there. Anybody wants to share us what is the history behind the Gautama Rishi that led to the Shapa that much of the Vedic knowledge was lost? Any quick sharing of thoughts here about Gautamasya Rishi Shapad? Okay.
I think I have heard somewhere. I mean, I have heard it in Bhagavatam, Padma Purana, or something. That Gautam, when the big famine came and Gautama Rishi, all the Brahmins, they all came to Gautam Rishi, and he was growing food every day with his mantra shakti and feeding everybody. And once, Narada, I think gods were, because there was no Veda, Yajna or something for the demigods. So what they did was the Narada Muni came and told the Brahmanas that he's taking all your, Gautama Rishi is having all the phala of your, whatever he is doing, feeding you and all. And you are not doing anything. And I think they made a cow with their mantra shakti, and they let it graze in his farm. And Gautama Rishi, when he was coming, he just saw the cow grazing, and he was worried, and he just hit it with the mantra bana, and the cow falls and dies. So he gets this, what is that? I don't know if this is the story, but
Yeah, thank you very much,
yeah.
Sheilaji. Yes, so I think you got the gist of it. So basically, there is a 12-year famine, and Gautama Rishi's ashrama is essentially, that's like an oasis at that point. So all the rishis of the Bharatvarsha, they congregate in Gautama Rishi. They stay there for a number of years, and then the famine goes away. But Gautama Rishi is very affectionate with all the other, the rishis and brahmanas who are there, and he doesn't want to let them go. So this is a situation that was created by Narayana himself so that he could take avatara as Vedavyasa. So the whole Purana that is described very well in the Skanda Purana here is to give a background with regards to how Narayana has to take avatara as Vedavyasa and bring back the Vedas. So that is a background to this. So that famine happens, then they stay together, and then the famine goes away, and there is a lot of rain. But our Gautama Rishi does not let these rishis to go away. And then at that point, what happens is Shiva and Parvati, they send Ganesha in the form of a brahmacharin who comes to the ashrama, and then he instigates the other rishis, and then there is and as Sheilaji mentioned, there is that incident, and then Gautama touches the cow the cow apparently dies, and that is a big that's a big curse, isn't it? It's a big papa, and all the other rishis go away. And then Gautama then goes into silent contemplation and thinks, why did this happen? Just a mere touch of the cow. How did this cow die? But the background to it is actually this is a Maya cow that is made, and then the Gautama touches and the cow falls down, and he sees in his vision, and then he gets very upset and he curses all the rishis that you have stayed in my Gurukula for 12 years and you have learned the Vedas and you have deceived me and to do this. So I'm going to curse that this knowledge of the Vedas is going to go away from all of you. So that's how this whole story is. But the idea there is Narayana himself, through Rudra and Parvati and through Ganesha, who comes to the ashrama, creates a situation where Vedavyasa then takes avatara. So that is the whole verse here that we recited, and the Vedavyasa then takes avatara with Parashara and Satyavati, and then his primary purpose of incarnation at the in Dwapara Yuga was to hold and preserve whatever Veda that was left. Okay, so we will look at it briefly. So we know Veda is actually a one unit. So there could be some confusions here. So Veda is only one, and it is infinite. Ananta vai Vedaha. So in the Satya Yuga, Kruta Yuga, Treta Yuga, a lot of Veda was still there. Satya Yuga, everybody knew the Sarva Shabda Vachyatva of Vedas. Everybody knew the Vedas. But that knowledge gradually started coming down. Okay. And then, of course, with this Gautama Shapa, it almost disappeared. So then our Veda Vyasa gets avatar at that point. So Veda is only one. But what happened was when Vedavyasa saved all the Vedas that were there in the Bharatvarsha, he created 4 shakes. That is, he gave portions of the Vedas to his various disciples, Paila, Vaishampayana, Jaimini, and Sumantu, and he gave them various portions to hold on to the Vedas. Yeah, so that became the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda. And then a portion of the Veda called Atharva Veda was preserved by Sumantu Rishi, who is also a disciple of Veda Vyasa. So Veda is one. It has got 4 branches or shakes. Okay? There are not 4 Vedas. It's Veda is one, 4 branches. So here I've got a quick question for us. Atharva. So who is the Rishi? Which Upanishad does Atharva Rishi come in? Quick answer.
Atharvan open.
Atharvana Upanishad, very, very good. So, Atharva is the son of Chaturmukha Brahma. So, Chaturmukha Brahma, who has received the Vedas from Hayagriva Namaka Paramatma, Chaturmukha Brahma gives a portion of the Vedas to his son Atharva, and that Sumantu holds on to that aspect of the Atharva Veda, as it's called. Okay, Atharva Veda is basically a combination of Rig and Yajus. Yeah, it is not a separate kind of Veda. It is just holds a few verses of these two shakes. So you have Rig, Yajus, Sama, and Atharva Veda. Then what happened? Each shake was given to various families in the Vedic times to preserve those sections of the Rig Veda. So that became the Upashakes. In the Rig Veda, you had 24. And in Yajur Veda, it's very interesting. So that's like 101. And then in Sama Veda, look at the Upashakes, 1000 Upashakes. And in Atharva Veda, 12 Upashakes were made. So this is at the tail end of the Dwapara Yuga, moving into Kali Yuga. Then what happened in Kali Yuga? Thanks to all of us who are neither interested in learning the Vedas or thanks to all the invasions that have happened in Bharatvarsha, much of this Upashake was lost. Okay, so if you count the Upashakes, that itself is interesting. It comes to 1,137 Upashakes were established by Vyasa. Okay, so now hold on to that idea of 1137. Let's look at this 1137. Our gurus teach us some very interesting mathematics here. So if you look at 1137, it's a prime number. It is divisible only by 3. If you take 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 7, that becomes 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so in whichever way you look at it, this 1137 itself is an interesting number because it boils down to this 3. Why? Because Vedas are called Trayi. The other name of Veda is Trayi, and the Upashakes are all the Trayis, the Vedas. So what is the Trayi? The Trayi is Padya, Gadya, and Gana. Mantras, riks, prose, poetry. Okay, so verses, prose, and poetry are the 3 forms of communication for sentient beings, and that is what is called the Veda or Trayi. Okay, equals 3. Okay, not 4 as we discussed, because Atharva Rishi brings both the Rig and Yajus. So we need to be clear about this classifications of the Vedas. So 1137 was what Vyasa has established, and once the dawn of the Kali Yuga comes the destruction of the Vedas. Okay, so now what's happened in Rig Veda, of 24 Upashakes, only 3 are left. And in Yajur Veda, as you know, there are 2 sub-branches, Krishna Yajur Veda, Shukla Yajur Veda. Krishna Yajur Veda was maintained by Vaishampayana, Shukla Yajur Veda by Yajnavalkya. So among these, there are only 3 to 6 of this that exist. So if you look at south of India, there are a lot of Krishna Yajur Veda. There are a lot of Krishna Yajur Veda Sampradaya that is there in the South India, and Shukla Yajur Veda in the north. Okay, some portions of this are still preserved, 3 to 6. The tragedy of Samaveda, which is what we have picked up for our Chintana over the next several weeks, it had 1000 Upashakes. Okay, only 3 left. And in Atharva, there were 12. There are only 2 left. Okay, so now it brings a big question. How do we save even what is existing? 3 to 6, 3 and 2. What saddens me is there are some folks who are claiming that we should not even read the Vedas, we should so-called chant and then leave at this. This is all that we have to do. We should not do Veda Adhyayana. That is also I've heard. And some folks say that is all that needs to be done in Kali Yuga. I think that is a very superficial way of doing things. If we do that, even these shakes, the 3 to 6, 3 and 2 that is left, that will also disappear. The whole of the Vedas will go away from Bharatvarsha. So when folks say that, we should take it with a huge pinch of salt. Yeah, yes, chant, but at the same time, understand those chants are inspired by the Vedas and seek the evidence in the Vedas rather than making one's own hypothesis. Yeah. So I just thought I should mention that as to how important it is to preserve what Vedas are available. And I think we can pat our back, at least whatever little that we are doing as a satsangis here is, over the last 5 years, at least we are making an attempt to try and understand these various Upanishads of the Vedas. And unless we appreciate and understand it, the whole thing is going to disappear in 2 or 3 generations. So I think it's a huge responsibility on all of us. Okay? That Vedas have to be preserved, they have to be studied, they have to be contemplated, and then everything else flows. Okay, so those Vedas that is available, there are about 20,000 verses, 20,416 verses, classified into Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishads. And we've all understood that why is this Veda so important? Because that is the only way of knowing super sensory things. That is the only way of knowing trans-empirical things. Na indriyani na anumanam vedahi eva enam vedayanti tasmad ahuhu vedaha. Pippalada Shruti by Pippalada Rishi of Shakprashna Upanishad. He said that body of text which gives you the knowledge of Brahman, that is called Veda, because that is the only way in which you can know Brahman. Na avedavin manutedam bruhantam sarva anubhum atmanam samparaye Taittreya Brahmanam. If you do not know the Vedas, you will not know Brahman. Gita, of course, Krishna said, Vedaishta sarvair ahameva vedyaha. Katha Upanishad, Sarve Vedaha Yat Padamamananti, Tapamsi Sarvani cha Yadvadanti, Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti, Tatte Padam Sangrahena Bravimi Om Ityetat. Our Sutrakara Vedavyasa said, Shastra Yoditvat. The only way of knowing Brahman is through the Shastras. Of course, there are various texts that have been described, 7 primary scriptures that are given. And in that 7 primary scriptures, the first 4, Rig Veda, Rig Yajus Sama Atharvana Veda, Mula Ramayana, Mahabharata, Pancharatragama. These 7 are the primary scriptures. Yete Anuyayinastesham Sarvete cha Sadagamaha. All other texts, Puranas and everything else, as long as they concur with the Vedas, Mula Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Pancharatra Agamas, then they are scriptures or Agama, as a definition has been given for that. So Vedas form a key component of how we approach the Sanatana Dharma. Okay, so let's think about what is the meaning of Upanishads. I know we have done it on a number of occasions, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to contemplate. I hope my slides are transitioning now. Okay, so who is going to tell us what is the meaning of Upanishad?
The one who takes us closer to the Lord, closer to the Guru, and helps us to go higher up.
Thank you, Pratibhaji. Anand?
It's a knowledge learned by sitting close to a guru, nearer to a guru.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, both Anand and Pratibhaji have got the ideas absolutely right. So let's think about it. So Upanishadara, sitting close to a guru, as how Anandji and Pratibhaji said, sit close to a guru and read. Read what? Read about Brahman. So Upanishadnam Brahma Tattvam Atreti Upanishad. Why do we need to go next to a guru and read? Because this Upanishad only talks about Brahma Tattva. So to learn about the Brahma Tattva, you go close to a guru. So that is called Upanishad. And then the other etymology, of course, is Upanishadnam Brahma Tattvam Atreti Upanishad. But then the question is, why do we have to know about this Brahman? Who cares? 99.9999% of folks don't care about Brahman, but why do we need to care? Upanishadayati. If you want to get rid of samsara, that is the only solution. Unless you know about Brahman, you cannot get rid of the samsara. How do you then do this? Sit close to a guru, read the shastras, elevate your consciousness, go up, upari, as we are taught. Upa, nishadayati, elevate yourself, elevate your consciousness by knowledge. Okay, and upahvara, stay at a higher level of consciousness so that you reach Paramatma or Brahman. Okay. Mahabharata gives you the classification. Anuvakas are Rig, Vakas are Rajus, music is Sama, Nishat is Brahmana and Aranyaka, and Upanishad is the excellent core portion of the Upanishads. And that also we have done before. Upanishad is not the end portion of the Veda, and that is also a misconception. Upanishad is not the end portion of the Vedas. Some folks think Upanishad is Vedanta and Veda Anta, end portion of the Vedas. No, Vedas Siddhanta is Vedanta. That is the essence of the philosophy of the Vedas is the Upanishads. There are 10 Upanishads, right? So let's look at this Krishna's, which we do all the time. So there is Krishna and there is Arjuna. They are riding this horse that has been given by Agni. 4 white horses, Shvetas. What are their names that we understand from Mahabharata? Saibya, Sugriva, Meghapushpaka, Balahaka. So these 4 horses that Krishna is riding is hugely metaphorical in the Gita. Okay, that is what we have learned from our gurus. Why is it so metaphorical? These 4 horses are the 4 branches of the Vedas. Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva, Veda. They are under whose control? They are under the control of Krishna. And Arjuna can wage that war with the principles established in the Vedas, then he will succeed. Okay, so that is the metaphor of the whole Gita. Yeah, 4 Vedas. All the Upanishads. Each horse is a Veda, and each horse, the Veda, has got Upanishads. So what are those? So Rig Veda has got Aitareya Upanishad. Yajur Veda has got Isha, Brihadaranyaka, that is Shukla Yajur Veda. In Krishna Yajur Veda, you have Katha and Taittiriya. And in Sama Veda, you have Chandogya and Keno Upanishad. And in Atharvana Veda, you have Mundaka, Mandukya, technically should be said as Manduko, and then Prashna Upanishad. So there are 10 Upanishads. So here is a quick question. Why do we have to study 10 Upanishads? Why not 20 or why not just 6? Who wants to take that question? Again, a popular quiz in our forum.
These are the 10 that all the acharyas have written commentaries on.
Correct. But why they have written the Acharya? Why the Acharyas have written commentaries only for 10 Upanishads is the question. They could have chosen to do for 8 or 20. Tushudji? Anand?
Because it's 10 because it captures the essence of all the Upanishads. There are hundreds of Upanishads, but the core message of the Upanishads is captured in 10 of these. That's why Shankaracharya, Acharya Madhva, and Ramanujacharya, they have given the Upanishads on these 10 Upanishads.
Beautiful, Anandji. Excellent answer. So yeah, so that's the perfect answer from Anandji. So we have what have we done in our satsang so far? The ones that we have done, I've marked in green. So we started off with Mandukya, then we did Chandogya, chapter 6. We haven't done all the adhyayas. Probably we'll go back to other adhyayas at Chandogya. Then we have done Isha Upanishad. No, then we did Katha Upanishad. Then we did Isha Upanishad. Then we came to Mundaka Upanishad. And now we are making Pravesha into Keno Upanishad. And I'm hoping after we have done Keno Upanishad, we'll go to Aitareya. Because that is the only Upanishad we haven't done we have done all other Vedas. Yeah, Yajur, Sama and Atharva, at least one, we haven't done in Rig Veda. So we'll go to Aitareya, Maha Aitareya Upanishad, which is, of course, Srimad Acharya's favorite Upanishad. So we will try and tackle that at some point. Aitareya Upanishad will be the next. So we are doing Keno Upanishad, which is part of the Sama Veda. Okay. Now here is the issue here is a background to what is this Sama Veda. So as I told you before, Veda is one, And then Vyasa then compiled everything. That is why he is called Veda Vyasa, right? And he compiled all the musical forms of Rig Veda. So all the Rig Veda rigs which are set in music is basically Samaveda. Yeah. And then as we discussed, there were 1,000 shakas, only 3 left. What are those 3 shakas? Kautama, Jaiminiya, Ranayiniya. Yeah. So the most prevalent one at this point is called Kautama Shake of Samaveda. You have Jaimini and Ranayaniya. Okay. So 3. It's important to remember that. And then here is a verse that may I request one of us to recite, Gita 10:22. Who want to take up 10:22?
I can do.
Yeah, go for it, Panagashri.
वेदानां सामवेदोऽस्मि देवानामस्मि वासवः इन्द्रियाणां मनश्चास्मि भूतानामस्मि चेतना.
Thank you very much, Panagashi. So Krishna categorically says, so what is Bhagavad Gita after all? Krishna Dvaipayana documents the conversation that happened between Vasudeva Krishna and Arjuna. So Krishna Dvaipayana or Veda Vyasa has said, Vedanam Samavedo Asmi is what Krishna has said to Arjuna. So here is a quick quiz. Why did Krishna say Vedanam Samavedo Asmi? He could have said Vedanam Rigvedo Asmi. But why did he choose to say Vedanam Samavedo Asmi? So anybody wants to tackle this quiz, quick quiz? No worries. Okay. So
Probably it's probably related to its musical content of Samaveda rather than a prose or a poetry. And we offer, I mean, we pray to God with devotion in the form of a music. And probably that's the reason.
Thank you, Anandji. Interesting point. Deval?
Yeah, just taking on that point from Anandji, I think if the creation is created from Om, and which creates the vibration, and the Namatmaka Prapancha follows from that. That is what Samaveda is about. I think would fit in, but I don't know. That's my theory.
Very
Also,
nice.
Madhuri,
Devalji.
the Samaveda is sung by Lord Vayu. That's probably one of the reasons. Vayu
Okay.
being
Beautiful. Abhimani of Samaveda.
Garuda Vishnu Vahana, he sings Samaveda, I have heard.
Yeah.
And I thought because Garuda is the greatest devotee,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
God always loves what his devotees does.
Yeah. Excellent. Lots of beautiful answers. Anybody else? So yeah, I think all of us got it. All of us got some aspects of it. But also think about why Krishna said Vedanam Samavedo Asmi. So if you look at Rig Veda, so if you go to Rig, there are the mantras, right? And there are the words. Om, for example, you just say Agni, okay, Agni Mile Purohitam. Agni is a word and you celebrate Agni. Agni is etymology, so Agni Narayana, etc. etc. So that is, you understand the word Agni, you see the etymology of the word Agni, and then you understand this is Agni Narayana, Vishnu, and you do worship. The beauty of Samaveda is that same word Agni is set as Agna, E, and it splits and it takes each letter and puts it in music. So the reason why it does is it wants us folks to understand the Sarva Shabda Vachyatva of Brahman. That as how Devalji said, that the whole creation comes with Om, and from Om comes the infinite Vedas. And the infinite Vedas, there each letter and sound of the Vedas celebrates only Paramatma. So it is the individual letters that the Samaveda takes and then puts it in musical note and also celebrates the greatness of Brahman. So it really captures that Sarva Shabda Vachyatva of Brahman. Okay? So that is also one of the reasons why Samaveda, he says, I am in Samaveda, because of that Sarva Shabda Vachya, every sound of the universe only celebrates the greatness of Brahman. And of course, how other satsangis here have contributed beautifully about Vayu Tattvas, Abhimani, Garuda, and how music and so on. So think about that, yeah, about why Krishna said Vedanam Samavedasmi. So he's given great importance to Samaveda. But what have we done? From 1,000 shakas, we are down to 3. And in the 3, there is only one that is prominent. and that could also disappear fairly soon. Okay, so then what is the point in studying Bhagavad Gita? It's talking about Bhagavad Gita, but not taking it and doing it in practical application. To me, doesn't make sense. It's just theory. Yeah. So as our Bandanji says, it's only Natak company. We are all doing dramas here, but not taking Samaveda seriously, because Krishna has told us we have to take Samaveda very, very seriously. So, Talavakara Shake. So, it is in the, remember we are doing the introduction to Talavakara Upanishad, the Keno Upanishad. The background to it itself is incredible. It's amazing. So, you got Talavakara Shake. So, among the 1,000 Shakes, of course, there are only these Kautama. So, if you go to Kautama, there is the Samhita portion, Brahmana portion, Aranyaka portion, and the Upanishad portion that may be there. Talavakara Shake is one among the Shakes. Okay. So, the question is, what has happened to the Samhita portion? That is completely lost. So we don't have the Samhita portion of the Talavakara Upanishad that is available. All that we have at this point is the Brahmana portions of the Talavakara Upanishad, Talavakara Brahmana, where the Talavakara Upanishad comes. Okay, so that is the point that we need to think about. And as I said, we as unfortunately as Sanatanis, we should be ashamed of ourselves that we have made it so that we have lost everything. And there are some folks now saying you don't need to study Vedas. Okay, that really is painful to even grasp. So Talavakara Shake. Now the next question is, why is it called Talavakara Shake? Okay, so who is going to tell us why is it called Talavakara? Yeah, anybody who is done? Kusumji, do you want to answer that? I know you've done some background work on that. Any views on why it is called Talavakara Shake?
Is it related to that Rishi Talavakara?
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Kusumji. So yes, so that is one answer. So as I said, there are all these rishis who are all looking after the various portions of the Vedas, right? So one of the rishis who was looking after this Upashake was a rishi called Talavakara Rishi. So this Upanishad gets the name. Yes, Talavakara Upanishad. That is the original name. And of course, we have also even messed that also. Over the last few, tens of years, somebody has said, okay, this is Kena Upanishad because the very first word is Kena, so let's call it Kena Upanishad. No, the original way, the Vedic way of celebrating this Upanishad is Talavakara Upanishad. Okay. Why? What is the importance of Talavakara? That itself is very interesting. Okay, so if you look at music, so how do you do music? Samaveda is celebrating Brahman in music, isn't it? Either you sing it or you play the instruments, various instruments. And then, in fact, the ancient traditions, we are told that in music, you can actually celebrate Samaveda. And that music can be singing or it could be various instruments. Okay, Talavadya. So some of us here will be very good in Talavadya. It is a form of music. Okay, so celebrating the Samaveda in the form of music through Talavadya is Talavadyakara. That Shake that celebrated the Samaveda through Talavadya is called Talavadyakara or Talavakara. Okay? Talavakara Shake. And as I told you, much of it is gone. Now, here is another etymology of Talavakara. This is very interesting, given by Vadiraja Tirtha. Ta, lava, kara. Okay? Lava means lower. Things that are lower than some other person. Okay? So, that which comes in front of it is lower and under its control. So, ta, lava, kara means it's basically talking about that entity which controls all other things that is below it. So that name of that Upanishad itself gives the philosophy of it gives the essence of this whole Upanishad itself. Okay, so that is called Talavakara. So hope you find these, information interesting. Talavakara Rishi, Talavadyakara Shake, Talavakara. Okay, so let's move on about thinking about. Still, we are in that background. Okay, Talavakara. So Talavakara Brahmana, as I said, is there, and in that is this Talavakara Upanishad. And this Talavakara Upanishad has got other names also. It's called Kena Upanishad, as I told you just a few minutes ago. It is called Narayana Brahmana Upanishad. It is also called Trimurti Upanishad. It has also got other names in the traditional circles. Narayana Brahmana Upanishad and Trimurti Upanishad. Why is it called Narayana Brahmana Upanishad and Trimurti Upanishad? We will see in a minute, but we have just understood why it's called Talavakara Upanishad or Kena Upanishad. So what is the overall structure of this Upanishad? So all Upanishads always have a Shanti mantra. Okay, so in Samaveda there are two Shanti mantras. So one of the Shanti mantras is what Anandji had sent it in satsang in our Sahiti group this morning, and then the one that I recited, Apyayantu Mama Angani, that is also a Shanti mantra of Samaveda. So Anandji, do you want to recite the other Shanti mantra for us today, if that's all right?
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Gunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Am Vidvishadavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Beautiful, Anandji. So that is a very popular Shanti mantra. Traditionally for Talavakara Upanishad, the Shanti mantra is what I recited at the beginning. So we will look at that as well. So, but what is the overall? So you always recite the Shanti mantra, which we will always do. And then Kena Upanishad has got 4 khandas, 4 chapters if you like. Okay. Each chapter has got a few verses. So 9, 5, 12, and 9. Okay, so together there are 35 verses. So divided in Padya and Gadya. So some verses, most of the verses are in mantras. Yeah? And there are some prose that are also there, scattered around in various chapters. Okay, 4 khandas with a Shanti mantra. So let us look at the Shanti mantra first and understand what the Shanti mantra is actually saying. It's a beautiful Shanti mantra and also gives you an idea of what is the philosophy that is being discussed in the Upanishad. So Om Apyayantu Mama Angani Vak Pranash Chakshuhu Shrotram. So remember this. This is the idea that comes again and again in the first kanda of this Upanishad. What is that? Vak, Pranaha, Chakshuhu, Shrotram. Ato balam is mind. Okay, that also comes in here. The first 4. Okay, sound body and mind is essential for spiritual progress. Okay, there can be no arguments on that. If you don't have a sound body and mind, nobody will come to the Upanishads. Apyayantu, may my body and mind flourish, grow strong, become powerful. To do what? Hear good things, see good things, celebrate Paramatma. That is why we need to have our body and mind that is strong. Okay. So that is what we recited in Atharva Veda Shanti Mantra, right? So who wants to take up the Atharva Veda Shanti Mantra here? Anybody wants to recite this, our most popular recitation over 1.5 years? Yeah, Anand.
Yeah,
Or
somebody else.
anybody else? Who was that? Was it Pratibhaji? Go for it. No, Deval, go for it.
No, it's okay. Let Anandji do it. It's okay.
Om Bhadram Karnebihi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshavir Yajatraha Sthirairangair Stushtavam Sastanubihi Vashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastino Indra Vrutrashabaha Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastino Staraksha Arishtanemihi Swastina Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Beautiful. So that Apyayantu, thank you very much, Anandji. So that Apyayantu, may my mind and my body go strong and flourish for what? So that I do this. So that is the meaning of Apyayantu. Mama Angani. What are these Angas? Anganis are my hands and legs. Mama Angani. Vak Pranaha Chakshuhu Shrotram. Shrotram, my ears. Vak, my speech. Pranaha, my vital breaths. Chakshuhu, my eyes. Okay. Ato bhalam. Yeah, the bhalam there has got various meaning. Mind that gives strength to the indriyas. It is the mind that prompts the indriyas to do stuff. So balam, it is interpreted as mind in that particular equation. And not only that, so here our mantra has taken only few indriyas, but all other indriyas. You have other karma indriyas and jnana indriyas which are not said. So the mantra says, indriyani cha sarvani. Okay, so that becomes beautiful. Indriyani cha sarvani. Sarvam brahmo upanishadam. Why should I need strong mind and body and sense organs and everything else? Apyayantu mamangani vakpranaschkshuhu srotram ato balam indriyani cha sarvani. For what? Sarvam Brahmopanishadam. So that I can see Brahman in the Upanishads. Sarva Shabda Vachyatva. As I said, that is why Samaveda is great. Sarva, every letter and sound celebrates Brahman, not 5 verses, as some folks want us to believe. Okay. Every word, Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam, not 5. Sarvam. We should read the Shanti mantra correctly first. Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam. Every letter and sound we can see Brahman. To see that we need good body and mind. Okay. Sarvam Brahma, omnipotent, all pervasive. So that is why that Sarvam Brahma is discussed there. Sarvam samapnoshi tatoasi sarvaha. Okay. And what do we pray to such a Brahman as Ma aham Brahma nirakuryam? I don't reject Brahman. Okay. Let me never forget this Brahman. Let me never reject this Brahman. Let me never become a materialist. Let me never become atheist. Let me have Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnanam, as Krishna said. Let me have the Shraddha. Let me never reject this Brahman. Okay. Ma aham Brahma nirakuryam. And then this Rishi is also praying, Mama Brahma nirakarod. May Brahman too not reject me. Okay. Interesting. By it actually means let him grace me. Let I not reject Brahman. Let Brahman grace me. Okay. Anirakaranamastu. Anirakaranam me astu. At any point, let there be no mutual rejection. Tad Atmani nirate. Let me be always in contemplation of Atman, Brahman, Paramatma, God. Ya Upanishatsu dharmaha. The Jiva's natural predisposition is to move towards Brahman because we have that Bimba and Pratibimba Bhava. We are constantly dependent on that Brahman. The Jiva's dharma is that it is a servant of Paramatma. It is the servant of Paramatma. It is dependent on Paramatma. That is its dharma. Okay? So these Upanishads say that Jiva's moving towards God is its natural dharma. Okay? Te mayi santu, te mayi santu. May those virtues be integrated with me always. Twice to stress always. Let it be so. Okay, so it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mantra. Asking that let's have strong mind, strong bodies, strong indriyas, so that, because remember these guys are all in Gurukula studying stuff, so that we have this strong indriya, so that we can read the Vedas in the Guru Mukha and see Brahman in the Upanishads everywhere. Okay, and when we do that Upanishad Brahman everywhere, we eventually get his grace. Okay, so that is the whole idea, and we should never reject the ideas of the Upanishads as we see it in the Vedas. Remember that Pustaka and Mastaka equation that I told you before. And let us move towards Paramatma. May these virtues that we imbibe, and may our satsang that has imbibed these kind of virtues over 5 years, may those always be with us. Because if we do so, what do we achieve? Shantihi, Shantihi and Shantihi. And we have done that before, that Shanti, Shanti, Shanti is not just peace, peace, peace. Okay? No, everything is etymological, right? So Shanti means Sha, Anta, Ni. Sha means Sham, bliss. E, Ingatau, Jnana, knowledge. Anta, the highest, Parakashte, the highest levels of bliss and knowledge. we will achieve as per our capacity if we follow the rules that have been described in this Shanti Mantra. And of course, 3 times, we all know why 3 times. So who wants to tell us why in all the Shanti mantras we say Shanti, Shanti and Shanti thrice? So who wants to share those ideas with us? Why 3 times Shanti, Shanti, Shanti? Anybody?
It's for Adhyatmika, Adibhautika and Adidaivika kleshas.
Thank you, Shilaji. Anybody? Any other views? So, Om, as you know, is Paramatma's name, right? Akara, Ukara, Makara, and then you can, why there are 3 Akara, Ukara, Makara, you can like past, present, and future, and the whole space, and all the gunas, and then we have understood in the Omkara Chintane that we said that Akara stands for this, Ukara stands for this, Makara stands for this, and Pur, Bhuva, Suvaha, he is all pervasive, he is all knowledgeable, and so on and so forth. So, this 3 is again all pervasive. Vedas are 3. Why? Because Akara, Ukara, Makara becomes Pranava, becomes Vyahriti, becomes Gayatri, becomes Purusha Shukta, becomes all the Vedas. Remember all that. So that is why those 3. So Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So I hope you had an understanding of what the Shanti mantra is telling us. Apyayantu mamangani vakpranaschkshuhu shrotram mato balam indriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahmopanishadam maham brahma nirakuryam mama brahma nirakarod anirakaranamastu anirakaranam me astu tad atmani nirate ya Upanishadsu dharmaha te mayi santu om shanti shanti shanti. So that is how this whole Upanishad starts. So we have not yet gone into the Upanishads because we need to understand the whole background to it even before we become eligible to read the Upanishads. That is how our gurus teach us. So every time you think about the Upanishad, you think about the Rishi, you think about the Devata, and you think about the Chandas. Rishi, Devata, Chandas. Without acknowledging the Rishi who has seen this Upanishad, which celebrates the Deva and in what meters, if we don't do that, there is a risk that we will never obtain the benefits of reading this Upanishad. So this is plagiarism, right? If we don't put references, if we don't refer previous work properly in whatever form of professional lives that we have, that almost feels like plagiarism. So which none of us do in our professional lives. So we should not be doing that in our spiritual life. So we got to recognize who are all the people. So there are so many rishis to think about. So I'll first list all the rishis that we want to think about, and then we will kind of home in. Hayagriva Namaka Paramatma is the first one that gives that Vedas, all the Vedas to Chaturmukha Brahma. So Hayagriva, if we do not know the Rishi for a particular Veda or Upanishad, if you answer as Hayagriva Namaka Paramatma, you are safe. Okay, he is the first Hayagriva. Then Chaturmukha Brahma. Then, of course, Mukhya Prana becomes important for Samaveda, as Anandji mentioned about Vayu reciting Samaveda. And Vayu reciting Samaveda is everywhere in the Upanishad. Okay, there's beautiful in Chandogya Upanishad. Vayu comes in the form of a dog, and then he howls and makes noise, which is actually Samaveda. It comes in Chandogya Upanishad. Beautiful. Okay. Mukhya Prana. Garuda, as how Shilaji was mentioning. Sadashiva. Rudra is also a rishi for this Upanishad. We will understand why he is a rishi. Parvati is also a rishi for this Upanishad. Okay. Chandra is also an Abhimani of Samaveda. So he also becomes a rishi for this Upanishad. And of course, Veda Vyasa is a compiler of the Vedas at the end of Dwaparika. So he is also the rishi who is Hayagriva Namaka Paramatma himself. Veda Vyasa is also a rishi. Jaimini is also a rishi. So quick quiz. Why is Jaimini a rishi for Samaveda? We have just done this at the beginning of today's satsang. So Jaimini was this student of Veda Vyasa who was given that portion of the Veda called Samaveda to preserve. So he also becomes the rishi, Jaimini. Then of course today we have done Talavakara rishi and all the acharyas who have given us the Bhashyas, Tikas, Tippanis and so on. They are all our rishis. Okay? Think about all of them. More importantly, Chaturmukha Brahma, Shiva, Parvati are the 3 key rishis, which we'll come to in a few minutes. The Devata for this Upanishad, Vishnu is the primary Devata. And of course, Vishnu has got infinite names, and each name is just a celebration of a certain quality of Paramatma. Okay, they are non-different. But the other Devatas that are contemplated, names of Vishnu that are contemplated is Hrishikesha, Kapila, Aniruddha, Gayatri Namaka Narayana. So these are all the Devatas. Okay. Hrishikesha, who wants to give us a quick answer to what is the meaning of Hrishikesha? Why is Krishna called Hrishikesha in Gita, and in the scriptures Vishnu is celebrated as Hrishikesha? Yeah, Panagashri.
Does that mean full control of all senses and all organs?
Yeah, thank you very much. Perfect. So Hrishika, Isha. Hrishika means all the indriyas. Isha means the controller. Beautiful. Thank you, Panagaji. So Chandas. Okay, so what are the Chandas of this Upanishad? So we have done Rishi, we have done Devata, now we are doing Chandas. And the Chandas is very, very interesting. Again, Guru Mukha, if we don't read, understand this, there is no way we will never find it in any of the textbooks. It has to be done through a Guru Mukha. So what has our Gurus taught us about the Chandas of this Upanishad? The primary Chandas of this Upanishad is Trishtup. Okay? Some verses are also in Anushtup. Okay? And there are others. Okay? Primarily it is Trishtup. Okay? So who wants to tell us the 7 primary Chandas that most Upanishads come in? Who wants to list the 7 Chandas? Anybody wants to go for it? Gayatri, Ushnik, Anushtup, Brihati, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagati. Okay, 7 primary scriptures. Starts from 24 syllables. You add 4, 4, 4, and you'll keep going all the way up to 48. So Trishtub is quite a big chandas, the big verses. 44. Okay, so this is beautiful. Yeah, much of the verses of of this particular Upanishad are set in Trishtub, and there is a reason for that. There are all those secret knowledge. Last week we said secret and sacred. What are those secret knowledges of the Vedas? These are all some of the secret knowledge for our contemplation. One is Trishtub. Why is this Upanishad in Trishtub? Trishtub has got 44 syllables. Look at 44. 11 times 44. What does 11 signify? Who is going to tell us what does 11 signify?
Indriyas.
11 Rudras.
Rudras, yeah.
11 Rudras. Yeah, Indriyas, correct, Anandji, but 11 Rudras. Yeah, so that is a secret bit of it. So 11 Rudras. One of the Rudra is Sadashiva. So he is a key character. He is one of the stars of this Upanishad. Yes, Rudra, Shiva. So look at 11. Rudra's Chandas is Trishtu. Of course, anybody wants to tell us who is the Abhimani Devata of Trishtu? Indra's wife.
Shachi.
Correct. Yeah. So she is the Abhimani. But if you look at most Vedic mantras celebrating Rudra, they'll all be in Trishtu. Okay. So that is because of this 11 times 44. Okay. But it gets a little bit more trickier. Okay. And these are all the subtleties again. I find it incredibly amazing. So I wanted to just share this with you guys. Okay. The first mantra of this Upanishad actually has got 44 syllables. Okay, so the 44 is called Trishtub, whereas the first mantra has got 45 syllables. So one of the rules of Vedic Chandas is you will have the 44, but you can have one less or one plus. So those are all adjustments that is there, not because of convenience, but there is a philosophy there. Okay, so this particular Chandas, if you go into the details, it's called Bhurik Trishtupu, 45. What is Bhurik Trishtupu? 9 times 5, 45. Okay, 9 is important because prano brihati. So brihati chandas. So who is going to tell us how many verses brihati chandas has? Anybody?
36.
36. Beautiful. 36. So how do you divide 36? So 9 times 4 is 36. Okay. 9 syllables of 4 lines is 36. Each line 9 is brihati. Okay. Prano Bruhati Aitareya Upanishad. Okay, it says Chaturmukha Brahma Vayu. They are celebrated as Brihati, Prano Bruhati. So the 9 has a idea of Chaturmukha Brahma. Okay, it talks about Chaturmukha. You have to understand Chaturmukha Brahma. 11 Rudra. 9, Chaturmukha Brahma. And look at how beautifully this Sankhya philosophy, not Sankhya philosophy, the philosophy in numbers here is 9 times 5, 5, 5-footed. Narayana is 5-footed. Prana is 5-footed. Yeah, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshna, Vasudeva, Narayana. Prana, who wants to give us the 5 forms of prana? Anybody wants to list us the 5 forms of prana? Pranagashi.
Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say the same. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. So we got the 5-footed prana tattva. Chaturmukha and Vayu are all the same category of souls. Prano Bruhati. So this Bhurik Trishtup of the first mantra itself is philosophically very important because it summarizes all the characters that are there in this Upanishad. Okay, so remember all this. I hope you find it interesting because these are all critical informations that we can appreciate and celebrate how great our Upanishads are and how much knowledge is kind of compressed in these kind of numbers. So we have done Rishi Devata and Chandas, and possibly we will close today with the background to the Kena Upanishad. So if you thought we were doing backgrounds, I've done the very basic introduction. This is the background. Okay, so what did we see just now? Upanishad means what? Upanishadana, that means what? A student sitting close to a guru. So the question here is, who is the student and who is a guru for this Upanishad? Okay, there are some problems with other schools. It's very sad. They have not even understood who is a guru and who is a student. Okay, this is what our Acharya does. He gives Srimad Acharya gives a reference, Brahmasara. It's also called Brahmapara, verse, book. Vaijayante Samasinam Ekante Chaturananam Vishnor Vividishus Tattvam Pariyapruchata Sadashivaha is the background to this Upanishad. Yeah. So Vaijayanta is one of the peaks of the Meru mountain where Chaturmukha Brahma resides. Of course, Chaturmukha Brahma is in Satyaloka, but there are also other residences for him. One of the other holiday homes for him is Vaijayanta in the Meru mountain. The Meru mountain is supposed to be the place where all the devatas are there, and in one place is this, the tallest peak is called the Vaijayanta. Chaturmukha Brahma is sitting on that Ekante Chaturananam. Chaturmukha Brahma is sitting and he is doing his contemplation. Chaturmukha Brahma is always thinking about our Paramatma, Vishnu. He is contemplating Vishnur Vividishu Tattvam. So to know about the Vishnu Tattva, Pariyapruchata Sadashivaha. So Sadashiva goes to Meru mountain to be sitting close to Chaturmukha Brahma, and then the philosophy starts for this Upanishad. Okay, Rudra is the student, Chaturmukha Brahma is the teacher, and they are talking about this Paratattva. Okay, that is the background to it. So the next question is, and we'll close off with this, where and what is Meru mountain? Anybody wants to tell us what is this Meru mountain that is described so much, including in this Talavakara Upanishad? Any background infos about what is Meru mountain?
Meru mountain is said to be still existing. I'm not sure whether it is true or false, but of what I have read, it still exists. It is to the north of Kailas Parvat, they say. And as you said, this is where all the gods they reside, and Brahma lives right on top. And some people say this is mythical as well. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Kusumji. Anybody else want to share any ideas? Okay, fantastic. So there's lots. Thank you, Kusumji. Yeah, you captured those ideas beautifully. So there is a lot of stuff around Meru mountain. Those of you who are interested, you may want to look at it. Okay, Meru mountain is a pretty interesting concept in Hindu philosophy. Okay, it's generally believed it's a cosmological mountain. Okay, it's when I say cosmological mountain, it is probably a mountain at the center of the universe that our Vedic philosophers think that if there is this vast universe, there must be a central point in this universe. Some folks may want to call it as a black hole or whatever. Okay, but there is a contemplation that there is a central component of the universe. It's a cosmological mountain, center of all physical, metaphysical, and spiritual universes. It is the central pivot of the universe. I've just captured from various things that I've researched. It is supposed to be a huge mountain, okay? If you look at our scriptures that talk about it, it has got 84,000 yojanas. That means it's got about 672,000 miles high. Okay, Himalayas is not that high. So there are doubts about what is Meru around Himalayas. Some folks, based on these evidences from the Vedas, don't think that this is actually Himalayas or Kailasha Parvata, because it will be 85 times the Earth's diameter. And there are other works like Surya Siddhanta, Varaha Mihira also talks about it, about what is this Meru mountain. Okay. Some folks say that Meru mountain, as Kusumji mentioned, surrounded by Mandara mountain to the east, Supasarva mountain and to the west, Kumuda mountain to the north, and Kailasa to the south. Okay. Now there are many temples in India. You have all these temples with gopuras, right? What are those gopuras actually signify? Okay, and this is Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and these mountains in Angkor Wat here. What do they signify? They actually represent the Meru mountain, which is the center component of the universe. Okay, and here is an interesting. Here is an interesting thing. This Meru mountain is also described in Jain and Buddhist traditions of Bharatvarsha. After all, Jain and Buddhist traditions come from India, right? They also talk about the Meru mountain. So it's an ancient concept. And here is another interesting twist. There is a Mount Meru in Tanzania. Some of you might have climbed Mount Meru in Tanzania as well. It's got a name. Okay, and there is a village next to Meru Mountain. Some folks say it's called Gurudatta. Okay, there are all those interesting ideas. So Meru Mountain is everywhere in Hindu philosophy. These gopuras that we see in temples actually signify the Meru Mountain. Okay, but the way I have learned it is the Meru mountain is a cosmological mountain, likely center of the universe. Because if Chaturmukha Brahma is the creator of the universe, right? He is the Mahat Tattva Abhimani. It's from him that Ahankara Tattva comes. And then the subsequent creation that Ahankara Tattva does. So these guys are all hanging out in the center of the universe and doing this creation that's coming about. Okay. So that is Kailasha that is there. And then Chaturmukha Brahma is there. Anybody wants to have more information, you can check out this book that I've got. It's interesting information. Not that we would agree with all the speculations that are there in this book, but it's interesting to read and get various ideas from it. So this is where this conversation is happening. So we will finish off with this idea. Why did Shiva approach Chaturmukha Brahma and ask him questions when he is highly knowledgeable and an aparoksha jnani himself? Rudra is Vedic pantheon number 5. He is highly exalted being. We all worship him. Such a Rudra goes to Chaturmukha Brahma and asks him question. Why? Yeah. Janan api umapatir vishesha jnanartam va ज्ञातस्य धारत्यम वा लोक अनुग्रहार्थम वा. Rudra goes so that he acquires special knowledge. We all get knowledge, but the more we read, the more we contemplate, the more knowledge we get. And the beauty of Upanishads is, the Vedas is, they got infinite meanings. Minimum 3, but infinite. Based on your capacity, you can keep on understanding. The more you study the same verses, you can get more knowledge. Janan api umapatir vishesha jnanartam va. One reason. Jnatasya dhardyartam va. Firm up your current knowledge. Revise. Go to Chaturmukha Brahma and say, please teach me again so that I can revise and confirm and firming up my current knowledge. Loka anugrahartam va. For the benefit of souls like us. Okay, so those are the 3 reasons why Sadashiva should make an attempt to go to Chaturmukha Brahma in Vaijayanta and asks those beautiful questions. Okay, and what that question was, we'll catch up in the next verse. What is that first question? Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha. This is the Mano Abhimani Rudra. Rudra is the Abhimani of the mind. He is asking that very first question. Om Kene Shitam Patati Preshitam Manaha. Kena Pranaha Pratamaha Preiti Yuktaha. Kene Shitam Vacham Imam Vadanti. Chakshuhu Shrotram Kavudevo Yunakti. He goes and asks our Chaturmukha Brahma. So what we will do is, in the next satsang talking about Talavakara Upanishad, we'll pick up this verse and of course dissect it in all its glory. There is so much information that we need to think about in the very first verse. Hopefully over the next 2 or 3 sessions, we'll capture the beauty of the first verse. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to close today's session. Bucket loads of slides. Krishna Pranamastu, and I hope you had a good background to Talavakara Upanishad, and you will be sufficiently intrigued to stay with us over the next several weeks to months to navigate the Keno Upanishad and understand its philosophy. So Krishna Pranamastu. If there are no questions, one brief announcement to make. So next week we have Gita Chintana. So we are going to be doing the summary of the 6 chapters, followed by a quiz session coordinated by Neeta ji and Pratibha ji. And then Venki ji will give us an introduction to how he plans to the chapter 7 of Gita. So that's the next Sunday. Then after that, we'll pick up the first verse of Talavakara Upanishad. Okay. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Anand.
So, Madhu, just a clarification. Veda has got 4 portions: Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. I always thought Upanishad was the last portion of any Veda. So, when you say Kena comes under Brahmana of Talavakara.
Yeah, so interesting question, Anaji. Look at Isha Upanishad. It's called Yagniya Mentro Upanishad. So if you look at Isha Upanishad, for example, it comes in the mantra portion. Okay, in mantra portion of the Shukla Yajurveda, it comes in the mantra portion. If you look at Brihadar, Aranyaka portion. So they come in all the portions, they say, so, but the way of looking at this is you have the Brahmana. So what is Brahmana? Brahmana means Brahma, Ana. Brahma means Veda. Ana means understanding better, a clear understanding of Brahman in Brahmana in various forms. It could be there could be some yajnas there, and there could be philosophical stuff there. So the Brahmana portions that crystallizes into more and more of the philosophical components, that becomes the Aranyaka that folks are supposed to do. After fed up with all of Grihastha they'll go to the forest and do it. And then that Aranyaka portions gets crystallized further into Upanishad. So that classification of Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad is to get things in framework. But as I told you before, it is not set in stone. Look at Isha Upanishad. It comes in the mantra portion. Look at Aitareya Upanishad, for example. Aitareya Upanishad comes in Aitareya Brahmana. Then you have Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then you have the Upanishad. So it's to get things in framework. But the key there is, it is the core philosophy, and that can come in various portions of the Vedas. I hope that clarifies. Yeah. Excellent. So if there are no further questions, can I request, let's go for Sushruji to recite Om and we close today's session. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. So we'll catch up next week for the much awaited chapter 6 first Shatka summary. Okay, take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.